Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't know me yet, I'm Magdalena, the person behind Mansorah Atelier, and I'm a leather artist, and amongst other things I make covers like these. And today I'm filming a video that I've been wanting to make for the longest time, and I want to talk about my thoughts on the structure and on the integrity behind different cover types. So here we have traveler's notebooks, we have folios, and we have ring binders. And in the beginning I want to talk about the difference between a traveler's notebook and a folio from my point of view, from a maker's point of view, that might help you also get an idea of what is something that you're looking for, and what could fit your needs the best. And after that, I'm going to switch to the ring binders, and I'm going to talk about what I've recently learned, why the traditional ring binders like these never quite worked for me perfectly, and why this one is now kind of my missing link, and why this one really works well for me, and why it might work well for you too. So that's the structure of the video. So that being said, let's get right into it. So maybe as a general understanding, a traveler's notebook is any type of cover. Could be leather, could be plastic, could be fabric, could be cork, that has elastics in the spine. Here it's covered by my spine, but actually let me just grab one where you can see the elastics in the spine. With this one, you can see it has holes in the spine, so the elastics go through these holes, and you attach your booklets to these elastics. So these booklets here, they are attached on the spine. So bear with me, even if you already know the concept. I just wanted to start at the very beginning for those who might not know the concept yet. So keep that in mind. The booklets are attached to the spine. Now, with a folio, as I call it, you have a traditional cover where there's no elastics in the spine, so the book is inserted in either just the back pocket or also possibly the front pocket as well. So you slide your insert as much on the outside edge as possible. Now let me just grab this little booklet. Oh my god, a lot of things in there. Let me just grab this little booklet and insert it into this empty traveler's notebook here. So you will see that the booklet, since it is attached in the spine, it is always going to be closest to the spine. Whereas this notebook is always going to be closest to the outside edge, since it is slid in there. Now, all the movement that comes from the spine here is translated also to the booklets. Now that it's closed, you can tell that the booklet is very close to the edge here, but if I open it, the booklet will go with the spine and leave extra room here. Now, for a folio, it works differently, because the book will always stay where it is, even if the cover is open or closed. So that is something to keep in mind when you make these covers. But it can also be something that could be important when you buy them. Now, I've realized that for, let me just get a little structure in here. I'm not the biggest fan of these types of folios. That's why I'm also using one that is currently for sale. So if you want this one, hit me up. It's for sale and ready to ship. Because what I like about traveler's notebooks are the different layers. I like that I can add a fabric between. I like the different booklets. I like that I can add a folder. I like how interesting it looks. Whereas the book is a bit too, I don't know, simplistic for me look-wise, but that's just a personal preference. I like to add pictures or little bits and bobs to my journal, and I don't really like thick books that outgrow the covers super fast. It makes me not want to use the book because I always fear that it gets worse every time I use it. Does that make sense? I don't want, I'm not as free to journal in a book that's in a very slim fitting cover, when I feel like every time I glue something in there, every time I add bits and bobs here and there, it's going to outgrow the cover. So what I realized is that for books like these, I really like trifolds. Simple trifolds like that, where everything is nice and neatly in there, and I don't have to worry about my book outgrowing its cover, like you sometimes could with a traditional bifold like this one. So that's just yeah, my thoughts on that. What I also like to do with these trifolds is just add a little simple slip in the back, so you can really tuck it in there and you don't have too much extra room on the top and on the bottom. So yeah, that's those are my thoughts on traditional books and on traveler's notebooks. Now let's just quickly circle back to what I spoke about when it comes to the booklet being attached in the spine and the spine affecting the booklets with every movement. For the traveler's notebooks, I don't really mind because I fill these booklets up quickly. I don't worry too much about there being too much stress on the paper. Yeah, so those are thin, they are filled quickly, and then they are stored, and then they go in the archive or sometimes in the trash. There's nothing important in there. So yeah, I don't worry too much about the paper being too stressed from too much movement. Now, for the traditional ring binders, that's something that always kind of bothered me, that especially if you have big rings like these. This A5 has 3 centimeter rings. You get a lot of movement. With every opening and closing, you get movement on the paper, the rings sliding through the paper. Now, I've realized that is because the ring mechanic is also attached in the spine, like the elastics of the traveler's notebook are attached to the spine. So every time you open the book, the rings turn to lay flat. You see? Now the rings face the opening, but if you open the binder, the rings face to the top. Every time that kind of causes movement, causes stress on the paper, that always kind of bothered me in the long run, especially if I want to keep things in there for a whole year, if I want to use maybe a calendar insert it always bothered me that there was stress on these holes here, there was stress on the paper, and no matter the ring size as well, I have this little plotter here, which has, I think, 1 centimeter rings. I think that is one reason why some people tend to gravitate to smaller rings, because it's not as heavy, it's not as much of a brick as if you have this huge amount of paper in there. But nevertheless, with the smaller rings, you also have to have smaller bridges between the edge of the paper and the rings, otherwise the paper will get stuck on itself if it's opened like that. You see, it's close to becoming a problem here. If it's just 1 centimeter more, it will get stuck on itself. So the sterling ink is actually quite good, but if you have different hole punches that are maybe meant for bigger binders, you will oops. You will have bigger bridges, which might not be able to work with the smaller rings. I hope I'm making sense. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So even here, the mechanic is attached in the spine, and the rings turn when you open and close the cover, which in turn also makes the paper slide from here to there, from here to there, which is why many people like to use a dashboard here in the spine. But you can tell that my holes here, they are already quite stressed, you know, because I always keep this one in the back, so most stress is on the piece of paper or cardboard or a piece of plastic that is in the very back of the rings. That's where the most movement happens. Now for the smaller one, it's obviously less of a problem, but another thing, I already tried to explain that if the booklet is attached to the spine, you need to have extra space here. Same with the rings. The rings are attached in the spine, so the paper will slide all the way to the front. Now you can see the paper is barely fitting into my binder. If it was fully stuffed, I hope it shows on camera. But if I open it, I have this huge amount of space here. I'm also not a fan of. I don't like when my covers are much too big, much too oversized for the amount of paper that's in there. It's just a visual preference. So, actually, let me start here. 2 years ago, I bought this desk agenda by Louis Vuitton, and I think it is meant for just your traditional notebook to slide in here. But many people use it as a ring binder by attaching a ring mechanic to a piece of by attaching a piece of sturdy plastic to the ring mechanic, and then just sliding that into the ring binder. And I did that because I knew that ring binders don't usually work for me, but I kind of wanted to try one of the Louis Vuitton ones. I think I already spoke in my other video about it, or maybe not. Let me just repeat it. If you make covers yourself, and I do that quite passionately, sometimes you need a little bit of distance from your own work. So that's why I bought this one, because I didn't have to be my biggest critic, that's the English word, my biggest critic, because I didn't make it, right? So it was just something that I could use without having to dissect it if there's maybe a stitching slightly out of place, or if the cover could be slightly bigger, or if the closure has a little unevenness here, so etc, etc. So that always is an issue if you make something yourself. So I wanted something sturdy, which the Louis Vuitton canvas is, that I didn't make, but something that I also enjoy, so that's why I bought this one. But I was a phase where I wanted to give a ring binder a go again, but I didn't want to invest that extra money to get the Louis Vuitton ring binder when I knew it probably wouldn't work for me. So if I get the desk agenda, I could always use it just as a notebook cover. But I realized that this surprisingly worked quite well for me as a ring binder, and I started to think about why that is, and it is exactly the reason that I just gave you, that if you open this one, it's like the folio, your rings are not affected by the cover's movement. So everything keeps in place, everything keeps lying straight, the paper is not constantly being moved, the paper is not constantly sliding back and forth, there's no stress on the very last sleeve here. So that was the reason why this worked so much better as a ring binder for me. Now, this was 2 years ago. Let me just get that out of the frame. Made, of course, made a cover for myself. This is my Atelier leather. I kind of wanted something for this year that is a bright color and that is fun and that I enjoy using, and I'm going to show you my setup also in a second, just because I also really enjoy it and I want to show you. So you're in it for the long haul today. So yeah, but I wanted to show you that on my own cover as well. You see, it is so much nicer if everything just, for me personally, I think it is so much nicer if everything just stays where I want it to stay. If the paper doesn't constantly move around, if I have a calendar in here where I don't have to open in December pages that have been flying around the planner the whole year already, and now I have to use them, and now I see that it's already very fried here, and I'm so happy with this setup. And I also really enjoy that this is a very, very simple hybrid. So if I ever feel like rings don't work for me, I can always, let me just grab one, just have this one here. I can always just insert a booklet here, and I have a perfect, much oversized for this little booklet, but you get the idea. I have a perfect folio. And that's why I really enjoy this desk agenda, and that's why I really enjoy this cover. I took the inspiration from the ladies that use these desk agendas as a ring binder, that have been using them, so it's not something that I came up with, but I think I wanted to break down the reason why this works much better for me than the traditional ring binder, and why this is for me not just an improvised ring binder, because I don't want to commit to add holes here. I genuinely think that this works so much better for me. So I'm just going to open this one again to show you the difference. It doesn't show quite as well now, but I think you already got the idea. Okay, so now that being said, I think I'm going to move these up a little bit. Move this one there. And then I want to show you my setup. So this little flyleaf or dashboard or whatever overlay is from pressed plants that I collected some years ago already. It still looks very good. I'm still very happy with it. This is an image that I took from a website called Cosmos Public Work, where you can find images that are in the public domain, and I enjoy that a lot. You can just find these images there and then print them out for yourself, and then you can use them in your journal or in your planner or whatever, and you don't have to worry if it's AI or if it's, I don't know. I just enjoy these old images a lot. So the heavens from the horizon of Paris, I think that also sounds quite poetic. So I thought that was going to be my dashboard. This is from a sticker book that I saw on TikTok. I saw someone add this sticker to their planner cover and I fell in love with it. So for the sticker I bought the sticker book. So I took that out and I want to keep it here. I think it's, I don't know, I think it's so cool. Something about that just makes me really happy. This is a drawing by Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, which I really like. He was an artist in Paris, also around 1900, also from the Cosmos Public Works website. So now you can tell, maybe you can tell, that this is a bit off-center. Now that is because I took these inserts from the 2026 Daphne's Diary, and you're obviously able to tell that this is actually a coiled planner. And I wanted, I like the Daphne's Diary inserts, and in the past when I was still in university it didn't quite work for me because I really needed the daily pages where I can write a lot of to-dos, write a lot of appointments, etc. My life has changed since then. I don't have as many appointments and I plan my to-dos mostly digitally, to be honest. So I actually thought I'm not going to get another calendar this year, but I kind of wanted something fun. That's all that is. I wanted something fun, I wanted something colorful, and I really always enjoyed the look of the Daphne's Diary. But as I said, it's a coiled planner, and I'm not a fan of coiled planners. I've never used this, but you can already tell that it's stressed here, and I don't think it would have survived a whole year with being open and closed and open and closed. And that is something that bothers me. I kind of like my paper to be kind of neat and to survive a year. Especially for calendars. I don't know. I don't like how coiled planners work in that sense, that they are always under stress because it's just too many holes in this planner or in this paper. So what I did is I took it apart carefully, and then I cut the coiled part off and repunched the pages. What I also did is I took out all the things that I don't need, I don't want to see, maybe even. I mean, these are nice. I'm probably going to use them, but I don't need them in my planner constantly. Same goes with that. I think that makes it a bit thick, etc. What I also did is I took all the advertisement out because I'm trying to remove ads from my personal life as best as possible, and I don't want to see advertisements on my calendar, so that's what I took out. I think that's also something I glued this image to an advertisement that was here, or maybe it was something else, I don't remember. But this page definitely had an advertisement, so I glued this over it. So now, what I like about the Daphne's Diary is that it's, let me not show that, every week has a different design, and if you're an OG Filofax girl or guy, you will know that weekly decorations are obviously, or have been a bigger thing. They're still a thing, but they have been, yeah, quite a thing for some while. And I have to admit that I never really got into that, because it was always, I don't know. First of all, back in the days I used daily planners, and decorating daily or decorating the whole week with a theme for every page. It was just, I don't know, it was too much for me. So I never got the hang of it. It was too much work. But for these, you already get a bit of a theme, and it is really very different every week. I can show you a few maybe, which is, it helps me jump into different color schemes. It helps me, I need to see, that's what I meant. I don't want to see that in my planner. I'm going to glue something over that. So yeah, what I wanted to say, it helps me be a bit creative. It gives me an idea of what I should or could add to the pages. As you can tell, there's nothing in here yet. I really like this design with the oranges, or the mouse here. I really like that. You can tell that here there's always this additional flyleaf, which I use quite a lot. I took the other ones out, and I will add them in as needed, because I had to cut them individually and I didn't hole punch them yet. But I think it's very practical. I really enjoy these. I like to have like a little extra piece of paper in between my pages. So that is last year. I didn't have the planner then yet. This is, I think, the first week that I got it. Let me just talk about the negatives real quick. I don't get these trackers. I don't get why I can write in one meal. That is not enough for a meal planner. Maybe it's okay if you just plan your main meal of the day, but I don't know. I kind of don't see the point in that personally. I also don't I don't really get mood trackers like that. That's maybe also just me. Maybe they work well for other people, but in a day I have like 50 moods. So when at the end of the day I'm trying to track my mood, it's always just like, yeah, it was okay. It's never super bad or super exciting, even though I've probably felt super bad and super excited through the day, but on average it's always me. So it's not something that I personally enjoy to track. And what I least understand is the TV thing here. I thought about it, and I think that it might be that might be leftover from when most people watched linear TV, and you would write down if a movie or a series was on that you really enjoyed, and you don't want to forget that on, I don't know, Saturday evening prime time your favorite movie is on. But with streaming now and everything being always available, I don't see why I would want to look back in my calendar and realize that I watched, I don't know, Peaky Blinders on Saturday the 10th of January 2026. That's just me though. yeah, you can tell it's all a bit empty. But here I tried to decorate a bit, so I added this sticker and I added these two, and I found this flower sticker here and this one, and you know what I mean? Like the concept of the page already gave me a bit of an idea what to do with it, and then if I want to add to it, I can add to it, but it's also not a bad thing if it stays empty like this. So those are my thoughts on the Daphne's Diary. As I said, I really enjoy it. There are some things I wouldn't need, but maybe they work for other people. What I really enjoy is the dashboards for each month. So for this year, it's always a flower theme, a vintage flower theme. So we have January, and as you can see, here's May. So it's always a bit different, but still cohesive. And I added this picture of Almanzo here on May because in May is his birthday. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this. I hope this video made sense. I don't think I need to expand it any further. I think I've said all that I wanted to say. Never mind, I just realized that yesterday I asked if some of you have any questions, and there were 2 questions I would want to answer. But actually, so one question was about lining. Now, and I think that person is referring to the Antiquaria mostly. Actually, I have one empty here. So thank you so much for that question. I happily answer that. So the question was if I could talk about the linings or if there are different lining options. So first I need to talk about the lining in general. As you can tell, the Antiquaria has the elastics hidden here. I also have, actually let me just quickly get that. There's gonna be a cut here. I'll be right back. We are back. I also have the bohème, which is also lined on the inside, but I'm pretty sure you can tell that on the young poet here it's a different lining than on the kahava here. So the kahava is the leather, young poet is the leather, and the design is the bohème with the leather border, and here's the design, the Antiquaria with the bookbinder spine. Now, for the young poet, I use a liner that is supposed to be a leather that is meant to line insides of a notebook. So could be goat leather, for example, or sheep leather. It is a cheaper leather, but it is very thin and flexible, and it is meant to be a liner. That helps with the cover staying closed, staying open, and not having too much stress on the leather on the inside here. Now with the bohème, doesn't show quite as well. Maybe let me show on the Antiquaria. Yeah, you maybe are able to tell that it kind of throws a bit of a crease here when the leather that is on the inside is the same that is on the outside. For these colored leathers, so I'm talking all of those that you can see here. So I can make an Antiquaria out of this leather, out of this leather. Obviously that is an Antiquaria. I can make it out of the yellow Achillea leather. It is very hard to find a liner that matches the color perfectly. That is easier for an undyed leather, which is why I prefer to do a leather that is meant to be a liner on the undyed, where I can find the perfect match. for those, I do the second best option. I line it with the same leather. I think it would not look as nice with a very unmatched red or an unmatched brown, which is why I chose to go with this option. Functionally, I prefer this one, but if you watched my videos with Frau Bieber, you will know that she does not like this lining at all. So I think that is a question of preference, maybe. Yeah, so those are the options for lined. To sum it up, on the leathers that are dyed, that have different colors, I line them with the same leather on the inside as on the outside. For the undyed, I prefer to line it with an actual leather that is meant to be a liner. And my two notebooks that are lined, those are the Antiquaria, here, the Bohème, and also for the A5 I lined it to give the leather more structure. It was too flimsy without the lining on the inside for this big size. For the personal ring binders, I can line them, but it's not necessary. And as you can tell here, there's no lining here, there's no lining here. I kind of like the look. I could line it, same way the Bohème is lined, but it's not necessary. So I don't know. I don't mind it, but if you prefer it lined, I can do that. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts on that. Then there was another question whether I use my my planners as work planners. I really don't. Most of my planning now is digitally. I try to do that. I try to get like fancy to-do lists and stuff like that, or like sketchbooks to draw down little sketches. I realized that it's just not intuitive for me to work very analog when most of my communication with the customers is digitally. So it is much easier to just have an Excel list where I have my formulas to calculate my prices. It is much easier for me to just digitally draw a little sketch that I want to send a customer. It is much easier to have my to-dos pop up on my laptop or on my phone, where they are coordinated with orders and emails already. As much as I always admired the other artists that keep their drawings analog, it's just not intuitive for me at this point to work like that. But I wanted to show you these since I'm already talking about that. Also 2 years ago already, I bought this book. Actually, let me look inside what I can show you so I don't leak any addresses, even though it's already been a while. So I just had to make sure that I don't leak anything here. So those are books from the 60s by a leather artist who passed away, and the son was selling a bit of his grandson, I think, was selling a bit of his estate. So I took some of his books, and I think it is. I love how he just used anything that he had on hand, maybe glued some paper over it to make it a bit more, a bit nicer. You see, but I don't know, I love that. So, and also to be able to just write down the order and to then just cross it off, so cool. But it's just not how I work efficiently, so I don't. But let me actually just show you. Let me try not to mess everything up here. To show you this little book. It's also a piece of legacy. That is a book from the 1800s. So I think like 1890, something like that, where the calculation was done, a little sketch, and I think that is just wonderful to be able to have something like this. I think that's already it. So yeah, little calculations here and there. Also here. And I treasure that a lot. And I would love to leave something like that behind, but it's going to be digitally. Yeah, just because it's not efficient for me to work like this anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, so those are the two questions that I wanted to answer. And if you have any other questions or comments or thoughts, just let me know in the comment section and I'll get to it. And I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week or day or evening or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you soon.